here I'm going to read some of John Stuart Mill's Phenomenalism. This is from his book on Hamilton, which is where he goes into more detail about what matter is, what external objects really are. And when I say really are, I mean, how can he explicate this concept? How can he bring it into focus, make it less obscure and confusing? So he talks about, he says, I see a piece of white paper on a table, just a simple white piece of paper on a table. I go into another room. If the phenomenon always followed me, if he always saw a white piece of paper, or if it did not follow him, right? You leave the room, you don't see a white piece of paper anymore. But if he also believed that the white piece of paper was no longer there, even though he doesn't see it, in either case, this white piece of paper would be a phantom. So how do we, in existential terms, how do we in practical life differentiate between what we would call a phantom, a hallucination, an imagination, and perception, a perception of something that's really there? So he's trying to just zoom in, like, what is the difference between a hallucination and what you might call a genuine perception? So I no longer have the sensations which it gave me, right? He's left the room, but I believe that when I again place myself in the circumstances in which I had those sensations, when I go again into the room, I shall again have them, namely the sensations of the white piece of paper, right? So he'll see the paper, he can touch the paper with his fingers, feel its texture. So when he's around, when he's in the right place, when he is where the paper is, he will always have these sensations again, or he expects to have them. So to think that there's a piece of paper on the desk in his study is to expect that certain sensations are conditionally possible. If I go there, I can see the paper, I'll have this whiteness appear to my eyes, I can touch the paper, and so on. So I would call this, this is already the essence, right? This is already the essence of phenomenalism. The object is an enduring possibility of further manifestation in a sensory way. So he says, but I believe that when I again place myself in the circumstances in which I had those sensations, when I again go into the room, I shall again have them, those sensations. And further, that there has been no intervening moment at which this would not have been the case. So, we typically think that the objects just sit around waiting for us. We can go into the room at any time and we can have the sensations when we choose, in that sense. They remain available until somebody destroys them or moves them. These possibilities of sensation remain where they are. Now, this is, relatively static objects. Like, we're going to start from here, and it's fairly easy to elaborate the theory of, objects can be understood to have moved in the meantime, or maybe a piece of ice has melted to some degree, and so on. Now, he says, owing to this property of my mind, my conception of the world at any given instant consists in only a small proportion of present sensations. Of these, I may at the time have none at all, and they are in any case a most insignificant portion of the whole which I apprehend. The conception I form of the world existing at any moment comprises, along with the sensations I am feeling, a countless variety of possibilities of sensation, namely the whole of those which past observation tells me that I could, under any supposable circumstances, experience at this moment, together with an indefinite and illimitable multitude of others which, though I do not know that I could, yet it is possible that I might experience in circumstances not known to me. So this is just our sense of the world. There's a wide world around us. We see the room that we are in, I can think of the coffee pot that's waiting downstairs for me in the kitchen. If I want to go make coffee, I expect I'll go down there and it's a little mocha pot, and I'll feel the metal in my hand. I'll see its grayish, shiny color. I'll be able to, open it up, clean out the old grounds. I expect the hot water to come on when I turn this little faucet thing. So there's this expectation of perception and sensation. And this is one way to, in a demystified fashion, understand what we mean by the physical. Now, it's worth noting when you emphasize perception or sensation like this, you are sort of pointing out that objects always manifest themselves in a from a point of view way, or a for me way. A for me way or a for you way. That the perceived object, as perceived, is associated with a perceiver. But this does not mean that the object is inside someone's head, right? I think that if you understand matter or physical things in this way, you really don't want to think of perception as internal. It is from a point of view, and it has a certain kind of privateness in that I can't see the world through your eyes. But this is the genuine manifestation of the world or reality itself, not a kind of internal stuff, right? So what phenomenalism actually offers is a theory that is not dualist. So there's no gap between mind and matter. What people would have put in some kind of mind stuff, namely the perception of objects, you could call it neutral, but I would just say that it's just the presence, the perceptual sensory presence of physical objects from a point of view. And then when they're not present directly, they can be present in our conversation and in our expectations. Our expectations can be used to explain our behavior. So, beyond the coffee pot that's just right downstairs for me, I think there is China, in Antarctica, places that could become perceptually present for me if I made the right moves to get there. And then, I understand videos, like in photographs, to have been taken in these places, so I get a kind of indirect perception of these places. So he goes on, he says, these various possibilities are the important thing to me in the world. This is very important, and I think this ties into pragmatism, right? An individual perception is a pretty fleeting thing, but we are long-term animals in that we try to develop our lives in a certain direction over the long term. My present sensations are generally of little importance and are moreover fugitive. The possibilities, on the contrary, are permanent, which is the character that mainly distinguishes our idea of substance or matter from our notion of sensation. So we move from sensation to the possibility of sensation, and we move from the fugitive or the fleeting into the relatively enduring. These possibilities, which are conditional certainties, need a special name to distinguish them from mere vague possibilities, which experience gives no warrant for reckoning upon. Now, as soon as a distinguishing name is given, though it be only to the same thing regarded in a different aspect, one of the most familiar experiences of our mental nature teaches us that the different name comes to be considered as the name of a different thing. There is another important peculiarity of these certified or guaranteed possibilities of sensation, namely that they have reference not to single sensations, but to sensations joined together in groups. When we think of anything as a material substance or body, we either have had or we think that on some given supposition we should have, not some one sensation, but a great and even indefinite number and variety of sensations, generally belonging to different senses, but so linked together that the presence of one announces the possible presence at the very same instant of any or all the rest.